If you've been watching my videos for a while, you've seen how I use a little yellow line to help me find better entries, exits, and all of that stuff. I want to talk about the mental aspect of using something like a yellow line on the chart and what it does. I think it does a few things mentally, and it helps your emotions. It kind of slows down the process of entering a trade. It gives you a very good kind of guide, right? You draw your little yellow line. Like here, we've got this trend. You want to call it a trend for the breakdown there. Well, look at how when you draw your line from the bottom of this number came out 830, we've got this touch, this touch. When you see how this line finally, like the price action gets below that, it starts to break to the downside. That really gives you a great opportunity to take a short, because now you've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 touches of that yellow line. And the best part about it is, if you draw your yellow line on there, it helps you avoid entering a trade until you get that clean break to the downside. So mentally, it kind of forces you to be more patient, right? If you're looking, let's say you're looking for a reversal back up here, you draw your little yellow line, again, it gives you that confidence to be patient, because you can see that as you draw your yellow line from the top of that candle down here, that none of these candles close above that yellow line until this one does. Once you get that candle to close above that yellow line, you can see that the trend is broken, and there's a good possibility of a reversal back up there to, whatever level you're looking at. I think it really helps you slow things down, because the more that you're kind of identifying resistance, you're like, okay, I draw my yellow line across there. Let's go back. Let's just do a little bit of like a replay here. So if we draw our yellow line there, we know there's resistance. It's like, okay, I'm being patient. I see this dropping down, but I also know that if I look here, there's previous resistance there. So the more I can slow it down before entering the trade, the more that I can just like take a breath and like draw my lines on here. Even if you're like, I'm an expert trader, I don't need lines, that's totally fine. But there's something about doing it that I think really does kind of help you be more patient. It helps you take a little bit more time. Now you can see how we bounced off that previous area of resistance there, and you're like, okay, well, I know there's also resistance right here, so this is a pretty good level to get stuck at again. Let's see what happens there. I'm not taking a trade because I can see we're in a channel. We're in the middle of this range here. There's no reason for me to take a trade yet. Okay, we push back up. We push back up there. We're getting stuck. All right, I'm being patient. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not forcing a trade. Now I've seen how this resistance 3 times, 4 times, 5 times has held us down there. So I'm like, okay, I'm coming up with a plan. I'm like, okay, if this breaks below this line here, I think there's a chance that we start to move down. So let's kind of like wait, see how that plays out. We look for our bear flag possibility. Okay, look, it's getting stuck there, hitting that resistance. All right, again, now we're moving back to the bottom there. I can see, okay, now we got this channel just going sideways. I'm being patient. I'm moving my yellow lines. I'm identifying, where resistance support is. And then I'm like, okay, starting to break to the downside here. Look at that. Oh, now that previous area of support's turning into resistance. Can get a move down. It's kind of just consolidating there at that level. Going sideways again. Now that yellow line, will it finally start to break to the downside here? And look at that. It breaks to the downside there. Starts to then move back up here again. The VWAP. It's basically just forcing you to, instead of just clicking buy and sell, instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to get into the trade right away, it's forcing you to really have patience and make sure, number one, that your line is drawn on the chart. You're drawing your line on the chart. You're being patient. You're waiting. Kind of looking here. Like this one's perfect example. We had this flag. So if you think about it, like if we go back here, let's go back to this dip. Now we know that when this sells down, it expands. The market's expanding to the next level. We had this consolidation here at the 300s down to the 150s. So I know that I can't get short down here. I just can't do it. If I want to get short, I see the momentum's moving down, but I just can't get short there yet because I know there's a very good chance that the market, it moves in waves. So even if it's going down, there's a good chance that at some point it's going to move back up here. Again, just drawing my little yellow line. So as I wait for this bear flag to form, okay, the market is going, it's just sitting there. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit of a bear flag here. I can draw my yellow line now, and I can basically just be patient. The one thing that I say about these yellow lines is you don't want the line to be like that. You just don't want it. I know that you can like zoom in and out on the chart, but you just don't want your yellow line to be like this, right? It needs to really kind of have that like 45. The better, like the kind of the nicer the slope, the better chance that if it does break the downside, it's going to be a more consistent move because you have that like strong consolidation at that trend line. So if we draw our little yellow line there, kind of building out that bear flag, again, I'm building out these flags because it's giving me patience. I'm waiting. Okay, look at that. We're stuck. Oh, will we break the downside here? We haven't broken this low yet. Got this like 80 level right there. Let's see what happens here. A little bit of a break, a little fake out, a little double bottom. So now I see there's a little double bottom right here. Okay, can connect those two. But the more patience I can have for these flags to really form, to really set up, the better. And the more that I'm just kind of drawing my setup out as it goes, the better the move's going to be. So now we know we've tested this trend line 2 times. We've tested it 3 times to the upside, twice to the upside. So the next kind of move out of this trend area, out of this channel would be our target. Obviously, there's a bear flag. The market's moving down. So I'm looking, okay, I got my yellow lines. I know it sounds funny because it's like, oh, you just put a yellow line on the chart. You think you're doing something. But I think it really does help your overall psyche to identify it and see it. So look, wow, we got the close below our yellow line. We take a short here. They're from the 70s. And we're looking for a move down. Look at how this plays out. Our yellow line playing out there. And look at that. Again, it just kind of really enforces the fact that you need to be patient. You need those multiple touches of that yellow line. The more touches, the better. Because it's just going to give a better break when we finally do break that line. Like this first little bear flag, if you see those little fake outs, see how it kind of like, it was too steep, right? Like it was just too steep here. Too steep. You needed a little bit more consolidation before that leg down. It's kind of like it moves down. And I also like to think about like on these pushes down, if you go to a bigger time frame, look at the 5-minute chart, looking at that big push down. Well, there's a good chance that we draw look kind of at the middle of that. So it's kind of like from 250 to 150, about 100 points. So we kind of push back into the middle of that to retest. And then we get that sell down. Again, it's just, I think, really enforcing yourself to identify levels. Identify the fact that did we push back up, test a level, and then get the breakdown? That's a much stronger break. You know, if we're bouncing support, let's say we're bullish and we're bouncing off support, the more that I can, draw my lines, draw my setups, the better. Here is a good example. Again, we've got the 15-minute opening range right here on this high. So this is the high of the 15-minute range. We draw our yellow line there. We go back, start here. This is our 15-minute opening range. So we broke out of the 15-minute opening range. We're starting to push up here. We had a little breakout there. Let's see how this plays out. I told you guys before, there's 2 different ways to play this. You can play the first break, from the 410s. It pushes up there to the 450s. That's 40 points all day. But let's say you miss out, on that first break of the opening range. Now we have our yellow line drawn there. And we watch this play out. Okay, we pushed up 480s. We pushed up. Well, fuck, it's like, am I going to FOMO into this or am I going to be patient? Because I know there's a good chance we're going to retest that previous breakout resistance level there. And look what happened. We retest this level, 19,400. how that played out there. Go to the 2-minute chart. We can see how it retested it there. Beautiful, right? Isn't that so beautiful? So our trade on this is kind of looking for this to break out. Consolidating here again. Now we tested our trend line. Remember, I didn't draw my trend line like that. I'm not drawing it. I really want it to kind of be more gradual. The more gradual, I think the stronger the move, the more consistent the move, the less chance of a fake out. If your line is too up and down, there's a very good chance that you're going to get a fake out. So the more that your line can be kind of gradually, nicely, I guess, sloping there, the better the breakout potential. All right, so we're testing that trend line there now. See, there's the breakout there. From that move there, from the 450s up there to the 520s. So again, you know, that retest of that previous resistance turning into support. We got the breakout. And again, yellow lines. I'm not going to tell you that they're going to make you a millionaire, but I do think it'll help you slow down your trades. It'll help you build up that confidence. It'll help you kind of really set a qualified entry area. It gives you like, hey, more that you could tell yourself that I'd be like, oh, I want this to pull back. I want this to bounce. I want this to touch this area and then make a move. The more that you can kind of talk yourself through the trade, the better the results, because you're going to be able to hold the trade longer. You're going to be able to stop out if it doesn't work out, because you're like, hey, I know that if we don't hold this level and we start selling back down, there's a good chance that my trade, my bullish trade, is invalidated. So you really want to figure out what is going to invalidate the trade and what's going to kind of set the trade up, and kind of think about how the market's moving, right? The market's always moving in waves. So we got the wave. I wonder where this plays out from here now. Kind of waved back down there, I guess, you know, back down. So the market moves in waves. If you know that, you cannot really predict it, but you can also kind of stop yourself from trading the crap and being patient and waiting for the best opportunities, because you know the market's going to pull back. You know the market moves in waves. You're patient. You're a fighter. You're a believer. That little yellow line. I got it on my shirt today. Look at that. Little yellow line. Put your yellow line on the chart. Boom, baby. Draw it. Look for it. Validate it. Take time. Be patient. Get your setups. Be a lion, stalking your prey. Think about that. When you're trading, you're like a lion. You're stalking the prey. You're not just jumping in all willy-nilly and hoping and praying. You're waiting. You're waiting for the perfect moment. You're entering the trade. You're taking the profit. You're walking away. Put your yellow line on there. Focus. Identify support, resistance, levels that you want to see get hit, and then look to take a trade.